Well, here we go. You guys see it. It's going to be a hell of a day on Twitter. Nonetheless, we have Shedeur Sanders going on Twitter and saying, INO, which I believe means I don't. I don't even remember him, to be honest. Bro had to be very mid at best. And who's he talking about? He's talking about Xavier Smith, who was just interviewed by The Athletic, and Xavier Smith recalling, Coach Prime didn't give me a chance. Now, here comes the quarterback. Obviously, the coach's son going to defend his father and say, I don't remember him. To be honest, he had to be mid at best, right? And the coolest part about it is underneath it, you see Caleb Mathis here, said he was, and shows a video of apparently Caleb just roasting the young man at practice. Now, everybody gets beat at practice. I did see a lack of effort in trying to catch back up after getting beat. And now we have Caleb, shitting on the young man in public in front of everybody. And obviously the quarterback is here. And I want to tell you guys something. Caleb's a friend of the channel. Talked to Caleb many times. Give him many shout-outs. Done an interview with him before. Talked to him on live. I've actually played Fortnite with the young man. I love Caleb. But what people need to understand is Cormani McClain came out and said, I don't want to play for cliques. And there's two different types of cliques. Right? There's cliques like we're clicking on the internet. And then there's cliques like we're friends and you're not in our circle. The clique is Shedeur Sanders and Shiloh and Travis Hunter. The clique is Caleb with Shedeur and all these friends who've known each other their whole lives. The clique is Cam at safety, right? It's these kids who came up from Texas together, went to Jackson State together, or have known each other their whole lives. That's the clique. That's the group of friends. And that is very problematic in a locker room at times. It can be continuity. It can be camaraderie. You all know each other. But I know this firsthand. I know this secondhand. I know this thirdhand. In locker rooms, if you're not in that inner circle, you can be left out. And it can leave a really bad taste in your mouth. When the starting quarterback of the team says, I don't remember that guy, and the others go, haha, I don't either, that's that childish banter that's unnecessary. Right? Let the kid leave. In this entire story, I vilified The Athletic. I said, why is The Athletic rehashing something that happened over a year ago? I believe Coach Prime's gotten better at cutting players, gotten better at sending players to the portal. We don't hear as many disgruntled or feelings hurt of the players that are being pushed out now. But a year ago, there were some mistakes made. Fine, you can concede that. I think we all get better at our jobs from one year to the next. I know I have. I know when I go back and look at an old video of mine, I cringe sometimes. I'm like, damn, I did that? I didn't know to do this instead? My delivery wasn't on point. This wasn't on point. That wasn't on point. The same thing happens with somebody like Coach Prime. He's not above reproach. He's not above correction. He's not above ridicule. He's not above being judged. He's not. But what you can't do is then send the quarterback out to publicly start dragging the players that were cut from the team a year ago. That's wasted energy. We don't have time to be thinking about those guys. The coaching staff shouldn't talk about it. The players shouldn't talk about it. We need to keep it moving, man. We need to be focused on what we're doing. Because I ask you, if you have this attitude about Xavier Smith, somebody who was mid, then do you feel the same way about some of the players not in the starting lineup? Do you only know the ones? Do you only know your circle? Or are you a leader of an entire locker room and a team? And if you are, you carry yourself that way. You don't sit around and laugh and point at the guy who hasn't earned any playing time. And you don't team up on them together. Now look, maturity sometimes comes with age. It's okay. I understand these young men are just getting off, just doing this, having a good time, laughing about it, LOLing at the end of their comments, letting you know a guy's trash. It's not the move, though, man. It's not conducive to getting people to want to go there and stay there when they're not in the inner circle. Let me make this clear. If you're not a starter and you're not in the clique, you can be ostracized. You can be alienated. And you might feel like the loneliest person on the team. You do not want to be there. And that's problematic. It's probably not problematic for somebody like Shedeur Sanders, who's leaving in about 5 months of playing time. But gentlemen, young men like Caleb, the young players on that roster, they don't have that luxury to laugh at every player not in the starting lineup, to laugh at every player they're beating at practice. Those players have a role too. Those players who don't see the field have an extreme role. They could either be on the scout team defense, giving you a good look all week, giving you realistic training and realistic preparation. You know, I heard Coach Prime say in a meeting one time, he said, hey guys, don't just focus on playing time. Focus on what you can do to help this team win. And if that means you spot one of the starters in the weight room, that's what you do. If that means you help them and try to beat them in a rep, that's what you do. If your contribution to us winning is at practice, then embrace that role. And I love that message. But you can't then inversely turn around and go, who? Who's that? Like you don't know the players on the team because he wasn't that very good. Like that, he was mid. That is a piss poor attitude to have. That is immature, and that's very cliquish. And when you have little cliques like that in locker rooms, there's some real segregation in the locker room. I'm going to tell you guys, the worst thing a team can have is two quarterbacks. Half the locker room believes in one quarterback, half the locker room believes in another quarterback. Right? I always say that. If you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. But what I'm really referring to is a non-unified front. And if you allow your starting quarterback to go around and say, who's this guy, who is that guy, that's not a unified front anymore. That means half the locker room is in the in crowd, and the other half of the locker room is just waiting to transfer out. There's no pride in sticking around when your quarterback goes out and drags you in public. And they wait for you to transfer, and then they drag you for being a non-competitor or you sucked at practice. So to both of these young men, be better in this regard. But this happens when you've enabled your team leadership to have autonomy, when you've enabled your team leadership to play a role in the construction of the roster. Hey, text me if you want to be here. Text me if you want to be here. Some people might applaud that approach, but what it does is it places those players of a higher value than everybody else. We're not all equal. Some of us can miss practice. Some of us can go to other countries. Some of us can do other things, and that is a bad precedence. That's a terrible precedence. So to see a starting quarterback, Heisman hopeful, an NFL draft hopeful, to go online and try to drag a young man that he didn't know or pretend he doesn't know and all these various things like that, that's just, and I understand he's coming to the defense of his father. You don't need to. That entire article was a hit piece, was trash. All you got to do is give it the cold shoulder and you'll be straight. But to go out there and act like you got your own clique, your own circle, that ain't it, man. There's kids on that team right now, not on the inner circle, staring at that type of conduct, and they don't want to practice. They don't want to work with you, and you need them. You need everybody. All hands on deck. You ever heard the phrase, all hands on deck? It ain't about your 11. Everybody talks about, oh, man, we diced it up. We went out there and crushed them. In the spring game, you saw the backups, what they did and all this. Yeah, remember that. Those backups got to come in the game too. Go read a box score. It's not 11 guys who finish with tackles. It's the whole two deep. That second team D, they're going to be on the field. You can't do this. So I know there's going to be a whole lot of Colorado fanboys who don't even watch this video till the end and just start retorting back at me with their nonsense. It is what it is. Your friends don't know, but Rico knows. Stay up, y'all.